What do you think about the current punk boom? Do you think it can be likened to the 76, 77 thing?
Humbug, pure humbug. Poppycock. No, it's ridiculous. It's a uniform already. It's like calling yourself a hippie in the early 70s or late 70s and thinking you were daring. It wasn't. It was very acceptable. And the people that took the risks were the people that were either beaten up in the street for looking the way they did or picked on by the establishment or whatever. And I think it's the initial people that take the risks.
Since 78, you've made an abundance of hit singles and albums. How difficult do you find it to come up with new original material nowadays?
No problem. The difficulty is getting played on the radio. That's getting more of a problem with what I just explained to you about the way it's reverted back with the music business of tarting something up to last a few months, and they bombard the market with it. They, somehow get these DJs to play their record every 5 minutes. I don't know how, I'm sure. I mean, money, it doesn't come into it, I don't suppose. But, yeah, it's very poisonous at the moment.
There's also a current boom in independent labels. You yourself are obviously signed to a major. What do you think about the independent labels then?
There's a lot of them now. When we signed, there wasn't any. I think the idea is good, but a lot of them now are very predictable in that a certain type of band will go with a certain independent label. And really, a lot of them are just as bad or worse as the major record companies in that they operate the same way. They have the same kind of mentality, but they've got a lack of funds, so they don't do some of the bands that they've got any justice.
So do you think there's too much music about then, nowadays?
Too much bad music about.
What would you class as bad music?
The charts are pretty bad. And a lot of the independent stuff is very bad. If you listen to the John Peel show, it's a joke, because it's just being played for the sake of it, because it's unknown and unheard of. It's not being played because it's something that's really good, and it's, finding it hard to be played. It's just got this credible thing in that, it's on an independent label, and that's all.
You've been to Japan. What do you think the pull of the Far East is to bands nowadays?
The unknown. It's so very alien. I can go to Europe and, some of America's quite alien, but when you go to Japan, it's so totally different. It really, you're in a foreign country. The kind of food, the customs, and the way they talk, the kind of language, and it's totally different and quite charming at first. But it's charming in that they want to help you as much as possible, but in the end, if you're there for a while, it's a bit, you think they're humiliating themselves in front of you, which is strange to come to terms with.
You mentioned Germany earlier on before I switched the tape recorder on. What do you think about Germany and the people? Like tonight, your first gig in Germany this year, yeah?
Well, like the gigs I don't like there being British, hearing the British voice that have just come here to see us because we're a British band. I don't like that, and I don't like Germany much.
Why not?
I don't know, just find it very stern, and just when you're travelling, like just not necessarily meeting rock people, because you always get a distorted view if you just meet people that go to gigs or promoters or whatever. Just like stopping off at, truck stops or hotels, in the street, in shops and that. It seems really rude. Their translation of like the human body or anything to do with sex or something is real like. We played in Ljubljana in Yugoslavia, and like that's a very restrictive environment, but the people weren't restricted, if you know what I mean. They were still outgoing.
Right, I suppose the next question is why do you come to Germany then to tour?
This is the last time.
In Germany or touring?
In Germany.
There were a lot of Brits in the audience tonight. That obviously made a difference.
I don't like the idea that, like, where Brits let us in, so what? I don't particularly like Britain much. It's a real insult to think that people have come not to see the band because we're Brits. I feel disgusted.
But how do you know they haven't come to see the band?
Because it's like, talk to us in English, Siouxsie. We're Brits. That's the best part of touring, is when you're in totally different environments. That's why we go away. That's why we play England. We don't play Britain as much as, like, you know, we're working a lot, but it's not playing in Britain. It's going to Japan and Hong Kong and Yugoslavia and Spain and Italy and all that. It's refreshing.
Would you now regard yourselves as an establishment band?
We're an established monster in the works, yes. As I said, like, not be tagged along with being an independent or an underground band. And I think more bands that people maybe think the media wouldn't like, the more bands that get into the media, the better, that are like that.
Do you think the live show's dying?
And I think a lot of people will like, you know, there's certain bands that cannot play live, not proficiency-wise, but cannot project anything live, can't approach it any differently without, like, you know, looking down at their instruments and not looking out at the audience. And I think bands that can come across live are going to be more valuable.
So do you think when people come to gigs, they expect to see an exact replica of the album or the single, or do you expect them to see something entirely different?
If they do, I hope we disappoint them. 'Cause I can't stand people expecting or demanding anything from us. It's always been a very different thing, and I think it's healthy that it's different from our recording work and live work. And, you know, it works the other way. A lot of people are great live and they can't do it in the studio. And I think, you know, it's two wonderful areas and should be taken separately.